Your dream to own a big house comes with a big price tag, especially on the Sunshine Coast. Is a townhouse a viable option, or are there too many compromises? Compared to Vancouver, the comparative affordability of buying a house on the Sunshine Coast is a big draw for people that want to move to the region. But house hunters from Port Mellon to Egmont soon find themselves faced with two challenges. One, that property prices have appreciated a lot in a very short period of time. And two, even if you haven't been priced out of the market in the last 2 years, you'll find out that there's just not really a whole lot of choice to pick from as far as single family homes go on the Sunshine Coast right now. There's just no inventory.
Because of their lower price point and smaller size, condos are often an entry point, but a lot of people do want to go into a single family home.
A single family home is the gold standard of residential real estate, and a smaller condo is kind of just seen as a step towards that journey. In between condos and single family homes are townhouses, which are also strata, but a little bit detached home. And there are some really good benefits to living in a townhouse, the least of which is not that they are appreciably cheaper than a comparable house.
If you're frustrated for prices of single family home, a townhouse may just be a viable option.
We're going to talk about townhouses as they relate to us here on the Sunshine Coast, but I think a lot of what we talk about would apply to larger centers in general. The same advice I think would apply in Edmonton or Toronto or the Maritimes. Probably the biggest draw right now of buying a townhouse on the Sunshine Coast is the bang for your buck. If you're going to spend, say, like $600,000, you're probably going to get a pretty decent move-in ready townhouse, whereas a $600,000 single family home, a house, it's going to be charitably a fixer-upper. It might just be lot value at $600,000.
A townhouse can be a great entry level point to get into the market, at least, because if a single family home is out of reach, but maybe you can get into the price point of a townhouse.
Right. And depending on the complex and the location and some of the amenities, you can get a ton of value or a lot of bang for your buck in a townhouse.
Another pro about owning a townhome is that there's less maintenance. Usually the strata has a maintenance person or a gardener. They hire this externally. So then you don't have to look after cutting your grass, shoveling the walks, and just more time to play. You don't have to do the work.
When we owned a house, it was always a responsibility. Like the upkeep fell on us that we were cutting grass, cleaning gutters, in Alberta, shoveling walks, that kind of thing. But here at the townhouse, like we don't really do any of it. We have somebody that comes a couple times a month and cuts the grass. Like we have trees pruned, the gardens are weeded, like it's really well looked after. So it's very much that we can just enjoy the outside of the complex and not have to worry about looking after any of that on our own.
Another pro with a townhouse is having outdoor space. You don't have to necessarily give up a backyard with owning a townhouse compared to a single family home. There are a lot of townhomes that you do have your own little backyard and outdoor space. And then often the strata or the complex also has more shared outdoor space as well.
When we lived in the city, a house was really important to us because even though you've got parks and amenities in the city, they're not always easily accessible. The townhouse gives us that space to have a barbecue and to have a few people over and have drinks in the summer or something like that. But on the Sunshine Coast specifically, we are so close to not just parks, but like beaches, trails, anything you could ever want. So we don't really feel like we've sacrificed by not having a really big yard. We don't have kids, we don't have pets, so that's a non-factor for us. But as far as being able to go outside and enjoy the outdoors, the whole coast is our playground. We're not just limiting ourselves to a backyard. So I don't think we really miss the backyard that much.
Exactly. We don't have to maintain it, and then we can just go out, play in the outdoors of nature.
That's a pretty rosy picture of what it's like to live in a townhouse. There are lots of benefits, but there are also a few cons. So with that in mind, the first con would be?
Living in a strata condo, you have to pay condo fees and you're part of like a mini government. The strata council is formed by owners and then the owners make decision of the complex. So likely if you're part of the strata, you should probably be on council at some point and volunteer your time and help making decisions of the maintenance and that. So you're not needing necessarily to do the maintenance, but you're needing to help make choices in hiring contractors and what needs to get done next to look after the whole complex.
In our experience, a good strata, or as every place outside of BC calls them, a condo board, a good strata/condo board is what's going to make or break your condo investment. If you've got a property that is well looked after, well cared for, and you can see there's a lot of pride of ownership, then in theory, you shouldn't have any more to worry about than you would a single family home. That is, I find, the biggest challenge, is to find something that's well managed and well looked after with a strata that plans ahead on the future, and their goal is caring for not just the owner's individual property, but the complex as a whole, and that they're focused on planning for the future and not just keeping monthly condo fees low. Stratas all also have their own set of bylaws that govern how owners and occupants are expected to behave when they're on the property and using the property. That might mean something like you can't rent the unit out, or that you can't have pets, or there's no smoking in common areas, or you're limited to parking, or can't have a hot tub. Like, it goes on and on and on. So you'll really want to make sure that you ask for a copy of the bylaws before you buy, so you know what you're getting into. And it's a very common thing that literally every strata in BC has. So when you're dealing with a realtor or a builder, if you ask to see the strata bylaws, that's not a weird question. That's something they will readily have available with you, so that you can have a better idea of what is and isn't allowed before you move in.
Yeah, and out of all those bylaws things, the other one that can mention restrictions that may be in for a strata is age restriction. So it might be a 55 plus condo. With the strata, there's less responsibility in that you're not looking after outdoor maintenance, but then there's also less autonomy. So it's not like you can just go paint your door red without the permission from the strata.
Another adjustment living in a townhouse compared to a single family home is that you're going to be in much closer proximity to your neighbors. Depending on the complex, you're probably going to share at least one wall with a neighbor, if not two walls. And that's perfectly fine. But it is an adjustment over living in a house where all four walls are, yours to do with as you please.
So just like in a neighborhood where you buy in a single family home, you kind of want to research the neighborhood. Well, same with a strata. You kind of want to research that neighborhood, the neighbors, if you can, of what type of little community you're moving into. The last con we're going to talk about in buying in a strata or a townhouse is condo fees. Condo fees subtract from your buying power when qualifying for a mortgage. When you qualify for a mortgage, you have all this debt servicing, and they calculate what all your costs are of owning the home. Part of your cost of owning on the home is the mortgage, and in the mortgage, what are your other debts that are existing along the side of that? And so heat is one of them they'll count, and then condo fees. So they will add condo fees in what you can qualify, how much debt you can carry in a month, and so then how much you can qualify in owning a mortgage.
That means that the bank, when you apply, basically sees the condo fee as an extra payment. It would be like if you had an extra car payment or something like that you've got to be able to cover not only the mortgage amount, but also that extra amount. So if it's $1 extra you spend on condo fees, in theory, it's $1 less that you can spend on mortgage.
Yeah. So definitely when you're looking for a home, you're going to be talking to your mortgage broker when you're pre-qualifying to see what you can afford. Your monthly condo fees, they'll cover the operations, the maintenance, the regular maintenance, day-to-day stuff, but then it also covers a contingency reserve fund so that you're putting money aside so when the roof of the complex need to be replaced, that there's enough money there. And so if the part of the condo fees, there's not enough that the members are paying and it's not high enough and we're not putting enough money aside, then one day when you need to replace the roof in 20 years, there's no money there, then it's a special assessment. So then all the owners are called to pay like $2,000-$3,000 all up front to cover that.
The special assessments can be like a real heartbreaker. Typically what happens is that you don't get one special assessment. Usually it's a series of special assessments, because a strata typically won't let the roof, let's say, go to rat and ruin, but really maintain everything else. Usually they kind of slough off everything.
So ideally you have a well-run condo strata that does collect the right amount of maintenance fees, condo fees, and putting that aside, and so that everything can stay maintained and looked after, and there's not these big calls on special assessments.
Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please like the video and maybe consider subscribing to the channel, as it really helps us out. And if you're into this kind of content, there's some more videos right here for you to watch now.